Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope all of you are doing well. Before I get started with this video, I want to mention a few things. First and foremost, starting tomorrow, I will start going over all the new releases that will be available, as well as covering the releases that will be coming out next Tuesday, as well as, announcements on Blu-rays and 4Ks that will be coming within the months. This is going to be happening every Tuesday. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And then starting on probably Sundays, I will be doing a wrestling weekly report where I go over each show and basically give you guys the results. The way it will work is I'll state what show and what day it was, how many matches were on that show, and then the results. Um, that way it gives everybody kind of a idea of what had been going on during that week if they didn't get the chance to watch it, or they don't watch every episode. So it'll be an easy way to kind of give them the results. But also I will do like what I consider what was the best show of the week during that for wrestling. So I think that will be something pretty cool to do, and that'll be on Sundays because I was originally going to do it on Saturdays, but until I realized that Collision is a Saturday show, I figure Sunday would be the proper way to do it. So those are the two videos that are going to be coming. Now, my Sunday video for the Wrestling Weekly Report, that will be filmed on Saturday night and uploaded on Sunday. I have decided to take Sundays off. I figured if I'm going to do videos throughout the week, I want to at least have one day off to kind of refresh my brain, take a mental health day. Because, let's be honest, you don't want to, not just myself, but any YouTuber out there, you don't want to have to get overwhelmed or burnt out on feeling like you have to make videos, or if you're making videos, there'll be a time where you feel burnt out. And I figured, why not just, do 6 days a week and then, take Sundays off, but you'll still get a video Sunday. It'll just be pre-recorded the night before. So those are two things that I plan to do this week. So, I hope you guys will tune in for that. And if you guys would like to, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll put my username down in the description below. And if you guys want to follow me on TikTok, I will also put my username down in the description below, and you guys can go do that. And if you guys want to check out my eBay store, I will put the link down in the description below. My store subscription ends at the end of this month, and then I go back to a standard account, which is, the 250 listings. The store account I had, you're able to get like 1,000. You can list 1,000 items, and then you get like some perks like a coupon for shipping supplies. You can run promotions and things like that. And it was getting to a point I just couldn't afford the monthly subscription, so I decided to cancel it. But my store at least runs up until the end of this month, and then I go back to a standard account. So you guys want to check that out, go ahead and do so. I decided to kind of make some changes with my eBay store, and what I'm actually doing, I changed everything from charge and ship into free shipping, and I'm focusing more on stuff that sells a little higher than like the average $5 price point. So anything I'm selling, there are a couple that are at like the five, I would say almost close to $6 range, like maybe 5.89, 5.95, something like that. But everything else is going to be like six to higher. Um, just to clear out some maybe old inventory, but also the new inventory I can make some profit on. So yeah, either way I look at it, it'll work that way. So yeah, I have free shipping on all items. Excuse me, that includes clothing. So again, if you guys want to check it out, I will put the link down in the description below. And also, what I'm also going to be doing moving forward is I'm going to be putting affiliated links. So when I review movies, I'm going to start putting affiliated links to, kind of help me make some sort of like an income of some sort. I do a lot of movie reviews, so I figured why not advertise those movies that I'm reviewing, down in the description. So whether that's, Amazon or eBay link, it would help me make a small little commission. I'm going to start off with eBay first before I do the Amazon, just kind of to test the waters out. But I figured this would be a great way to make somewhat of a commission. And it doesn't cost anybody extra. It's just I make a commission when somebody clicks the link and buys the item. So I figure I could start doing that with my movie reviews. And I'm also going to be putting the trailer down in the description as well as the IMDb page. I used to do this with some of my older reviews a few years back, and then I just stopped. So I'm going to try to get back into doing those a little bit more. And I also wanted to get your guys' opinion. Would you guys rather see me do a custom thumbnail for my movie reviews, or would you guys like to see just the standard thumbnails that I use? I try to use like what's on the internet, an image of the film with the title. But if you guys like to see custom thumbnails, let me know. I could definitely work on that. So I just figured I'd point that out. So with all that being said, let's get into today's video. So I wanted to talk about how I got into horror. The horror genre is one of my favorite genres. If I had to choose the top two for me, it's horror and it's comedy. And if you can put two together, then you definitely have my money. So my love for horror, went all the way back as a kid. So when I was younger, I lived in this small town in Florida at the time. I've lived in Florida, and let me state this: I've lived in Florida since 1993. My father was in the military, so after a year after I was born, we ended up moving to Germany because I was born in Texas. I was born in Killeen, Texas, which I think is like a really, really small town. Um, and a year after I was born, moved to Germany and lived in Germany for 6 years. Left, I believe, in '92 or '93, and then lived in Florida since '93. And I have literally lived in like 3 to 4 different cities in Florida. And where I'm at now is the longest I've been. I've been in this area for over 20 years now. So, the little, town I was living in, we had this mom and pop rental store that I absolutely love, and I will talk about that in a separate video because I want to do a video. I want to do a video, excuse me, on how I actually got into movies, how my love and passion for film came to be. So, this rental store I absolutely love. The people there were great. I know a lot of times they would have like this little bin of movie posters that they were getting rid of for really cheap. I think they're like $2 to $3, and it was just posters they had laying. Once a new release came out, and after so many months, they would get rid of the poster and sell it. And I always remember being drawn to the horror section, looking at the covers. Child's Play 2, Shocker, Society, Popcorn. Those were movies that really stood out. Yes, I would come across, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was always the different, styles and covers from all these different horror films that I absolutely loved over the years. And that's really where I would start to slowly grow. So my father, who is really, the one that got me into horror, he just kind of, got me into it, and then it just kind of bloomed from there. So during this time, my father would always rent the full moon titles that were available: Puppet Master, Demonic Toys, Subspecies. And I always remember those specific 3 films because I remember him watching those. And, of course, as a kid, I couldn't watch them. But as I slowly got older, I would start to slowly, start watching other horror films, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street, which we, at the time, I believe we had on VHS. So I would definitely watch those. That's kind of where I dipped my feet into horror, but it wasn't just necessarily a Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember watching Society, which is a weird horror film, but it is one of my favorites. Um, Ghoulies. I remember sitting down and watching Ghoulies one night late at night. That really got my appreciation for creature features and practical effects. Um, Puppet Master would become one of my favorite franchises of all time. It's actually on my top 5 favorite horror franchise of all time, which I will eventually do a video down the road. So these films really, these are the films that got me into it, especially with the full moon. That's really where, I would start to slowly progress into, the Lost Boys, and then eventually Fright Night, which became two of my all-time favorites, Poltergeist. So, a lot of these horror films I was starting to watch on TV and things like that. Now, maybe at the time some things were scary, others not so much, but I just had a love and a passion for it. I loved the uniqueness of them, and I like the fact that a lot of these directors or a lot of the writers, would take something they went through or took a real life event and turned it into a film. And I absolutely loved the creative, aspect of these films. And throughout the years, my love for horror grew. Now, it did get to a point where it died. Not as, completely went away, but the more modern horror was happening, the more we were getting these found footage films, zombie films left and right. I started to lose interest. Excuse me, it felt like there wasn't any ideas left. There was more remakes coming out, and I just had enough. I was watching the ones I loved, but when a lot of these boutique labels were starting to come out and films were being announced, it was catching my interest on films I'd never heard of. And the more this kept happening, the more my love for film, for the horror genre itself, started to really have a resurgence. With these boutique labels, I was able to watch all three Sleepaway Camp films and absolutely enjoy them. They're fun, they're campy, and they're entertaining regardless of how cheesy and weird they are. Um, the Stuff being a really fun movie and makes you think twice about eating yogurt and things like that. So, Frankenhooker, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, and, just so many different weird, obscured horror films. Um, Now, my dad didn't just, so, that kind of made a resurgence. My father isn't, he didn't not only get me into like the full moon titles, but he also got me into the Phantasm films. Um, I remember watching the first Phantasm, like bits and pieces, and absolutely loving it. And then I remember when part 4 came out, I think my father had rented the film and I sat down and watched it and really, really enjoyed it for what it was. And yeah, the Phantasm franchise became one of my all time favorites. It's one of my top 5 favorites. Um, so to this day, we fast forward now, and I still love the genre. I still love the creativeness. I don't care for modern horror. To some extent, I came across a horror film last night called Dark Harvest, I believe is the film. And that movie was gruesome. I never had fun with a horror film like that, especially a modern film. And it was brutal, really brutal. So, on a rare occasion, there are going to be modern horror that I absolutely like. But a lot of times when we have that cliche horror of ghosts, supernatural, paranormal, or found footage, or more zombie films, I just lose interest really quick. Now, a little fun fact, this is a story I've always been told, but when I was a baby, I would say probably like 2 years old, 3 years old, um, or a toddler. My mother told me one time they were watching Child's Play, and I would end up picking up a toy screwdriver and stabbing my mom with it, mimicking what was on the TV. So I guess that's kind of where it got started, but not too aware of it. But then eventually, around 93, 94, I would start to get into the genre a little bit more. Um, and yeah, since then, I've have progressed my love for it, and I've gotten films in my collection thanks to other YouTubers. There wasn't a whole lot. I remember the films that I remember, but there wasn't a whole lot that I knew about horror. You know, I didn't know that the Maniac Cop films existed, or the other two Basket Case sequels existed until YouTube. A lot of YouTubers were reviewing Maniac Cop, the Basket Case films, the Reanimator films, and so on and so forth. And well, when you're watching these videos, you get an interest, and here we are. I've got the Basket Case trilogy in my collection. I've got the Maniac Cop. I've got Popcorn. I mean, the Vestron video series has, allowed me to see films I've never seen, and it's slowly progressing. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of where my horror got started, a small little town in Florida in '93, and here we are. It's gonna still progress. I'm starting to get more into the horror, collectibles and you know shirts and hoodies and things like that. And I hope once things start to progress and getting better, I will start building my horror collection. A little thing I've been doing recently is researching like posters and things like that. And on Amazon, I found these mini posters. These, like, I want to say they're like 9x12s or 8x11, and they're newspaper articles on some of the horror icons, like the events actually happened. So I plan to eventually get those. I think it's like 50. It depends on what you can get, because they also have posters that are like the movie poster, and then they have ones that are like DVD covers, or like they have this cool Nightmare on Elm Street like creep show comic book cover type. Um, and I think you can pay like 15 to 13. I think some are a little bit higher, because I think it goes up in like like the size. Um, but you get like a pack. It's like a 10 pack or so, or something like that. When I saw the newspaper article ones, I was like, you know what, that would be a great way to start. So I do eventually want to pick those up. But yeah, eventually once things get better, I do plan to progress more into the like getting more horror collectibles and things like that, shirts. Because I've been eyeballing some really cool shirts. I definitely want to get more posters, or at least, really, I need to get some horror film posters, because all I have is the first It from 2017, and then I have this. You can't really see it, but it's a collage of like a lot of the horror icons. But I do want to eventually start getting some of my favorite horror films, some of the posters, like Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street, Phantasm, and things like that. So yeah, I don't want to make this video too long for you guys, but I just figured I would share my story and talk about how I got into horror. So I would love to hear how you guys got into the horror genre, if you are a fan of the horror genre. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It's much appreciated. Keeps me going. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content, and keep an eye out for the new videos I plan to do. And yeah, can't wait to see how this channel progresses. The channel's progressing really, really well. Um, I've noticed my reviews are starting to hit like over 100 views, which is amazing. I think my Guyver review went over 300, so that was really, really crazy. Um, so it keeps me going with the reviews. Um, Once things start to get better and I'm able to have the money to get my vehicle fixed, I'm actually going to start going to places like Walmart and cover the new releases that they have there, maybe Target. And also, um, I plan to like order the glasses to have the camera, so I can get indoors, the indoor footage of the releases, and also do like hunting videos as well. I do an out and about. So eventually that will come down the road once things get better. For the time being, I figured, to start slowly getting back on my feet. For the time being, I would at least do the affiliated links, and put my eBay link down in the description, because it's going to help slowly get back on my feet as time progresses. I'm hoping to follow my dream by the end of the year to be monetized. There are two monetization goals that you can hit with YouTube. The first one is you need a total of 500 subs and you have to have 3,000 watch hours. This allows you to have like super chat. I think specific comments get like pinned, or get there's something about the comments that get like a specific comment stands out on videos and things like that. And we're getting close to some extent. I started noticing that my watch hours are starting to progress. I think I'm at like 869 watch hours, which is crazy because at one point it was stuck at like 500 something. So my long-term goal for the year, I want to be monetized. This is a dream job for me. Once I get to that point, and it's still, I'm very passionate. That's one thing if you guys knew me on a personal level, I'm passionate about things. It's not just YouTube. It's eBay, and it's just a few other things in my life. So, yeah. So I think I covered enough. I don't want to make this video too long. I mean, we're already at the 22 mark just about. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe again. I'm Film Talk with Mikey. Until next time, guys, we'll talk films. Take care. Peace.